again, although these are on branded slides, these are my um, personal views rather than my employer's views. But slides come together quite nicely in the template, so I've left the branding in place. Yeah. So the Cyber Resilience Act was published. It's been rumbling around for a couple of years, but it was finally published late October. And there's a lot in there. I mean, there's some 260 pages. It's a little bit oddly written. There's about 100 pages of sort of preamble when you download the document, which kind of um, set out the logic behind it before you get to the actual terms of the act. So it's a bit odd to read, but there's a lot in there. And we'll step through kind of the key elements to it. But effectively, it's about making digital products or products with a digital element, as the phrase that's been coined is, more secure, but also that they get ongoing updates, and there's vulnerability management processes that support them. It also brings in a digital kite mark so that there's a stamp on a device that shows that it is secure. So there's a lot of benefit in this. So if we just look at the timelines, as with many new European legislations, there is quite a long implementation timeline. So it's not a big bang sort of piece. So the regulation has been published. There's a 20-day pause before it comes into effect, which I think they don't say whether it's working days or days. So I've gone for the 14th of November as being the effective date. That could be slightly out, but that's what I've plot for. There's then an 18-month period for when the Chapter 4 comes into effect, which is the conformity assessment bodies. So they're the bodies that will assess products on behalf of manufacturers and provide the evidence of their compliance. So they can get registered, get set up, get the processes in place. And then at the 21-month point, manufacturers' reporting obligations apply. So manufacturers have to report vulnerabilities in their products. And then 3 years from the effective date, the full CRA applies. So this is a way off. But obviously we'll start to see those changes. And right at the end, we'll kind of look at what it means to different groups of people. And then obviously 7 years through, there is an evaluation and review of the Act, and look at what it means, how effective it's been, and everything else. So for those of you that have cyber stalked my LinkedIn, you'll know that I work in critical infrastructure. So I do a lot of work with the NIS regulations. And for me, the CRA is a huge benefit for people that are operating in this space, because NIS requires cybersecurity requirements on those who operate critical infrastructure, and the CRA kind of is the other piece of the jigsaw, that it mandates the supply of secure products. So rather than companies asking or having to pay for or having to sort of embed that security in products that aren't necessarily designed for it, this Act starts to push that supply of secure products. So it starts to solve that problem and bring this together. So for me, it's really good news. If we look at the Act in general, the general obligations. So a product must be designed, developed, and produced in accordance with the essential cybersecurity requirements. And again, these are what you would expect. I will come to them right at the end, but it's been designed securely, it's been produced properly. arrives without known vulnerabilities. It has support, it has updates, and so on. It must also have been subject to a risk assessment, and the outcome of that risk assessment needs to form part of the design process. So again, you can't just throw it over the wall. You've actually got to have it's all embedded and brought together. There should be support appropriate to the life cycle. So again, there's flexibility around that, but there's a general expectation of 5 years support for a product with a digital element, and also updates remain available for 10 years. So again, that longevity, that length of use, that length of support, are all starting to be legislated. Manufacturers also have to set up vulnerability handling and disclosure. So if there's a vulnerability, they have to do something about it. And obviously they have to tell you what they've done and solved it. And that then comes with a declaration of conformance. So you get a certificate with proof that this product is secure and conforms to these regulations. And there's a kite mark. Don't know what that'll look like yet, but there'll be a mark, a logo on the product to show that it complies with these regulations. So again, it's that sort of common knowledge, common understanding, common baseline that these products are being built to. So let's say products with digital elements is what they're talking about, and we'll come on to what this scope is. But effectively, they'll only be made available on the market where they do these two things, that they meet these essential cybersecurity requirements. And again, there's some caveats here. So it's got to be properly installed, maintained, used for the purpose that it was, or a reasonable purpose for which it was designed for, and it's been updated, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not a, get out of jail. You can't just sort of ignore something and expect it to be secure. You still have to do the updates and the patches and things like that as well, in order for this, the act to be in place. And they need to have processes to do the vulnerability handling. So again, there's those two elements to it for the manufacturer. You've got to provide something that is secure, and they've got to provide the means of keeping it secure. And they've designed it into important and critical products, which we'll come on to. There's still a bit of class one are the least important, which seems slightly odd to me, but that's the way they've done it. So we've got important products with digital elements. Class one are all these listed here. So again, you can just see the range of products that are affected. Just let people have a quick read. And then we have class two products in the important bits. So again, you see they're slightly more critical. And then you've got critical products have the highest security wrap around them, of which there aren't so many. But you can just see the scope of the act affects a significant number of products. What are the requirements? Well, again, the blue highlights the kind of the key points, but they are, for those that work in cybersecurity, they are what you'd expect. They're about configuration, default configuration, updates, access control, confidentiality, integrity, availability, reducing the attack service, monitoring. So they're all those things that you would expect. But also some good things like the ability to reset to a known state, available on the market without known exploitable vulnerabilities, and also users can securely and easily remove on a permanent basis all data and settings. So again, there's that sort of wipe before, whether it's disposal or moving on or resale. Um, a bit about data processing. It's adequate, relevant, and limited to what's necessary. Encryption and everything else. So it's a good set of basic requirements. And obviously, there's the vulnerability side as well. So that's the other side of it. That they identify and document them, brings in software bill of materials, which the Americans have been pushing quite a while. So again, you can see the components that go into these products. They address and remediate vulnerabilities without delay. They disclose information about vulnerabilities that have been fixed. Vulnerability disclosure, securely distribute updates. Updates are disseminated without delay, free of charge. Again, there's some caveats there unless there's particular sort of arrangements between manufacturer and purchaser. But again, it's all about making this available, usable, and easy to implement. There's a bit around assurance. Obviously, the manufacturers aren't marking their own homework. They have to get registered bodies, and that's the conformity assessment bodies, to do this for them. They have a number of options. So there's internal controls, which can only be used for class ones. There's an EU type examination procedure. Lots of details in the text. I'm not going into them here. Class ones and twos, as with conformity assessments. And then the top ones, then you have to get a European cybersecurity certification. That's not been defined yet, but we'd expect ENISA to come out with something on that fairly soon to support that. But obviously, as something is more critical, as something is more important, then the level of assurance around its certification increases. So again, you know what you're getting, and you have proof that is there. So what? As I said right at the beginning, I think this is a very useful piece of legislation that drives very good behaviour from manufacturers around digital products. So I think it is good news. If you're a manufacturer, get your head into it, understand the regulations, what it means for your products, and start looking at how you fit this into the life cycle of products that you're developing. If you purchase these products, and again, be aware these regulations are coming into force, but also understand how you're going to incorporate those into your procurement processes and the kind of the assurance piece. So actually, how are you going to track this information about the conformity of these products? As a cyber professional, have a read, get into it. And again, start to advise your clients to sort of start thinking about this, start taking, certainly if they're a user of these devices, then, start to get them thinking about how they can take advantage of this legislation. If you import something, then effectively, with a few nuances, you're a manufacturer, so you have to import a product that is compliant if you want to sell it within the scope of the legislation, and basically, so you have to kind of make sure that all this is in place. I think there's an opportunity around conformity bodies, so for organisations to start to provide this conformance assessment. They'll have to be registered. There'll be standards to comply to. But again, there's an opportunity around getting into that. And for the general consumers, again, it's coming. Recognise it, and I think look forward to embracing products with a cyber kite mark, which again I think is a good step forward. So yeah, in summary, it's a comprehensive piece of legislation. It's going to be a step change in terms of digital security for products, and it's putting security at every stage of the product life cycle, right through from design to maintenance. So I say it is going to be, from my perspective, it represents a step change in product security. And obviously there are um, other acts, other elements. I know we have a product security bill that's kicking around. I need to do a bit of aligning to see where that fits, where that levels up. We, the UK, obviously aren't in the EU, but I think if a UK company wishes to sell into the EU, then they will have to comply. Obviously, and if we buy a European product, then it will come with this regulations tagged to it. So again, we get the benefits of the regulations if we're buying from Europe. Um, that, um, in a simple summary, is a Cyber Resilience Act. Unless there are any questions.